To say that today's guest is a Facebook ads expert would be an understatement. Andrea Vahl has been writing Facebook ads for 11 years and is the author of 2 books on the topic, including Facebook Ads for Dummies. In the last 2 years alone, she's generated $4 million of revenue for her client. In this episode, we start with a hot take. Can Facebook ads really grow your podcast audience? We then go into the obvious pitfalls that podcasters and podcast growth teams should avoid when setting up their first Facebook ads campaign, the major levers that can be pulled to drastically reduce the cost per new listeners, and what campaign objectives should media company use to best leverage Facebook ads to their advantage. Enjoy. Hi, Andrea. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yep, I'm super excited to be here. It's going to be fun. I love to talk about Facebook ads.
Packed agenda today, and exactly, I was about to ask you, do you say Facebook ads or do you use meta ads?
Oh, I've been doing this so long, it's very hard to retrain myself to say meta ads. So I still say Facebook. And the other thing too is it's always been applicable to Facebook and Instagram, but again, I'm a little Facebook centric, so I always say Facebook ads, even though everything I say is applying to both. So I should start saying meta ads. I'm going to do it.
Let's keep Facebook ads. I'm the same. I've been using them for quite a while, and it's hard. Like, old habits die hard.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's start with a bit of a controversial question, but there is a sort of consensus in the podcast industry that you cannot grow your podcast audience using Facebook ads. So is that true?
It is sort of true. It is the way people have traditionally tried it usually doesn't work. So I go about it a little different way, but I've worked with a lot of podcasts in just trying to send traffic there, even if you're like only using Apple placements or, iPhone placements so that you're sending them to your Apple podcast page. It usually is not effective in growing listeners, but there's good news. There's a better way.
So I'm guessing like there are good ways to go about it, wrong ways to go about it. What are some pitfalls that podcasters should avoid at all costs when trying to grow their podcast audience with Facebook ads?
Yeah, so a lot of times what people are doing are just either boosting a post or, they might post about their new episode about their podcast, and they might just boost it or use like a traffic ad. And in my opinion, those are 2 of the, in general, worst options. No, that's not true. There are worse options. They're not the best options for sure. And that's a big mistake because people, just think that traffic is going to lead to listeners, and it really doesn't. You need to go about it a different way and use a different objective and be super smart about how you are approaching your audience and even just the whole idea of how you're marketing and using Facebook ads to grow your email list rather than to try and get new listeners just by sending them straight to the podcast page.
Got it. And just for context for our audience who are maybe not familiar with the intricacies of Facebook ads, when you say boosting a post, you mean, when you're on your page and like Facebook suggests, hey, do you want to put some budget behind that?
Yeah.
But boosting a post is probably the worst way to go about it. Kind of like the light version or the beginner version. But
yeah.
People should be using the Facebook Ads Manager, right?
Yeah, for sure. The when you're boosting a post, a lot of times the post isn't even optimized correctly. Facebook tries to make it really easy for you to spend money with them. They're like, hey, this post is doing well. Why don't you, give us $20 or whatever? And it makes you think that maybe it's going to help in some way. And while boosting a post isn't necessarily all bad, like I do still boost posts from time to time just to get a little more visibility in the newsfeed with something really important. But for the most part, what you really want to be doing is going into the ads manager, which is a little more complicated, and using one of the objectives that they have that's going to get you better results. Typically, what I'm doing is either a lead generation campaign with a pop-up form or a or an instant form, as it's called, or a lead generation campaign where I'm sending someone to my website where they can get a lead magnet, which is like, it might be like I have something that's called Top Tools for Late Starters, because my podcast is called Late Starters Club. And so that is how people opt in, and they get that tool guide first. I give them some value, and then I'm encouraging them to go and listen to every episode and reaching out with other things that I have, promotions I have to my list.
Got it. Okay, so we'll go into a bit more detail later in the episode about like these campaign setups and the right objectives. Let's stick to mistakes. You mentioned boosting posts instead of using the ads manager. What else is there in terms of mistakes?
Yeah, so for sure, like the big one is like I was kind of alluding to too, is the wrong campaign objective, the wrong type of campaign. Like you're using a traffic campaign instead of a conversion campaign, and you're going to get better results from a conversion campaign. And the other huge mistake that a lot of people make is not using the Facebook pixel. Now, the Facebook pixel is going to be eventually going away, but people still should be using it. We don't know when it's going away, and it's going to help you with your conversion campaigns. It's also going to help you retarget your audience and get and also like have some other audiences to use with what's called a lookalike audience. So I won't dive into all of that right now, but the pixel is basically just this little bit of code you put on your website, and you just need to put it in one time. It's really easy. There are plugins that you can use if you're using a WordPress site or other types of websites. Make it easy to add the Facebook pixel. And when you have the Facebook pixel on your site, Facebook is going to start to get to learn what types of people go to your site. It's going to learn what types of people are taking other actions on your site, like getting the lead magnet that you're trying to advertise. And it's going to optimize your ads so much better. So it's just really key to creating good campaigns. And what people don't realize too is that a lot of times is they don't have the pixel in early enough, because the Facebook pixel doesn't start collecting that data and learning the type of audience that comes to your website until it's on your website. And so even if you aren't going to advertise right away, it's good to get the Facebook pixel in there. Like I said, it's eventually going to be going away. We don't know exactly when, but we can still use it. We might as well still use this really great tool that's available to us.
So as you mentioned, with all the updates to privacy, the iOS 14.5, iOS 15, etc., and people saying no or opting out of GDPR consent pop-ups, it's getting more and more difficult, like to track each and every user. But still, like that's still some of the basics that people should implement, and they should implement it even before they even consider running paid traffic, right? That should be one of their building blocks that they put in place from day one once they have their podcasting website. Yeah,
for sure. And the other thing too that I should kind of mention that I forgot to talk about as well is that the Facebook pixel is going to be going away. There's another, you can also implement what's called the conversion API, and that's basically tracking on the back end of your systems. It's tracking its server-side tracking, which, is going to give you some better data, actually, than the browser-based Facebook pixel. So that's also a good thing to implement, and it's easy to do usually when you're doing that Facebook pixel implementation. You might as well do both.
You mentioned sending traffic to a landing page or using instant forms to get people to download your lead magnet.
Mm-hmm.
What is the overarching idea behind this? Like, do you want to capture the audience, send them to your email list so you can communicate with them again and again and make them aware of new episodes that you air? Rather than sending them to your podcast page and maybe losing them afterwards? Is that the idea?
Yeah, exactly. Because the thing is, like, really, this email list that you have available to you is really the biggest thing you are going to own. you're going to be able to know who these people are, and you're going to be able to do things like tag them. When you've got your podcast listeners, of course, we all want listeners, right? We all want people, we want downloads, we want people actually listening, and we don't really know who those people are. But when you've got your email list, you can see things like who's opening my emails, who's clicking on my emails. Now you're really going to get an idea of who your engaged email subscribers are, which is so valuable. And you're going to be able to hopefully, connect with them a little bit deeper, get to know them a little bit more, you're going to be sending them you're emailing out your episodes so that you know that they're seeing them. You'll be able to see that they clicked. And, obviously, I think probably a lot of people, well, maybe not everyone, but a lot of people want to make money with their podcasts, right? I mean, that's kind of a good thing. We like money. I like money. And when you have an email list, you can send things like promotional offers to them. If you got a new program or a new course or new coaching or whatever it is that you might do in conjunction with your podcast, then you are able to then, use that audience to also buy your things. And again, you're going to know a little bit more about the types of people who are clicking and engaged there, and just get better and better at connecting to them. You can send them surveys on what do you like to hear, just even like trying to have them say, what new topics would you like me to cover? It just makes it so much easier to get data from your listeners when you've got them on an email list.
Yeah, it's great for qualitative research, and even for podcast creators who don't sell a product or don't advertise a product as an affiliate. It makes a ton of sense, right, to want to capture them and being able to send communication to them and make them aware of new episodes. Because if you're going to pay maybe, I don't know, like a dollar or more per click, and you send them to your episode directly and they listen to it, and we're looking at CPMs like $20 for a podcast if you monetize with ads, like the math doesn't work out, right? So you want a way to capture that audience and make sure that they listen to maybe 4, 5, 6 episodes, in which case it starts making sense to buy traffic on Facebook, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it's huge.
And so you mentioned campaign objectives being a big thing for your campaign setup and getting things right with Facebook ads. When you want to send traffic to either a landing page or capture them with a lead form directly within Facebook, which campaign objectives do you use? What kind of setup do you recommend?
Yeah, so the campaign objective you're always going to choose when you go to create a new campaign in the Ads Manager is the lead campaign. And the challenging thing is there's some different little selections within there that will determine what your ad experience is like and what type of ad you're creating. So when you select the lead objective, you're going to be able to select instant forms or website is where the traffic is going to be going to. You want to be careful about that because sometimes it defaults to instant forms when you're actually trying to send them to your website where you've got the lead magnet and the email capture system. So make sure if you do have your lead magnet on your website, you're selecting website, and then you're going to be able to just create the ad as normal and use that URL for your opt-in. So, for example, on my Late Starters podcast, I have the tools. It's latestarters.club.com/tools, and that is just a landing page that just talks about that PDF that people can get, and then it's got the email form fill that you have there. And what you need to make sure if you're using that kind of ad campaign is that you've got the Facebook pixel on your site, and then you've got a thank you page where it says, thank you for signing up. Either here's your lead magnet or watch your email, however you have your funnel. And then you've got an extra bit of code on that thank you page that is also the lead pixel. So your pixel needs to be set up right in order to track those leads correctly. And, you've got to make sure you've got that extra bit of code in that thank you page. That's the key elements of that whole flow. And if you don't have that, say, like some people are like, oh, I don't know how to do that, or I don't have a website that's like, I'm, able to put that in there. The better way to go is an instant form. And what that is just a little pop-up form on Facebook where they put their name and their email address. You can tell them all about the free thing that you're offering. You put their name, email address in there, and they hit submit right on Facebook. They don't go to your website. They don't go anywhere. Then you get their name and email in the back end of your Facebook page. Now, then you're going to have to do a little bit of manual connection. Either it can be automated, but you'll have to make sure that you're then going in, getting their email address and sending them that guide. It can be automated. Like I said, it's just a little extra step in the process, but it allows you to collect name and emails without doing the opt-in on the website. So there's two good options there.
It's a bit of a trade-off, right? Like if you use instant form on Facebook, it reduces frictions. People don't leave the Facebook environment.
Right.
But potentially the quality of the leads is a bit lower. At least that's my experience.
Yeah.
And in some countries, you do have to have people to double opt-in once you gather their contact data and you upload it to your CRM.
Yeah.
So people need to check what the best option is for
right.
them. And just to go back to what you were saying about the pixel on the thank you page, just for the audience, sending that information back to Facebook with the pixel, telling Facebook, hey, a lead was generated, helps Facebook optimize fitting data to Facebook. Then that person converted. You're targeting the right kind of people. Keep going, basically.
Yeah, exactly. And now you're going to be able to tell the good thing. So the good thing about doing this is you're going to be able to tell which ad and which audience. If you're doing some testing there, it'll track which ad and which audience actually gave you the lead. So now you're going to be able to get better and better results because you're optimizing and saying, hey, this audience didn't really respond. They clicked a lot, but they didn't actually become a lead. And so now you're getting better results from what you actually want, which is your email subscribers. And this whole thing works the same if you're selling something. You would optimize around the purchase pixel in that case, and you can get better results because you're finding the people who like to opt in or like to buy things. And the same thing with leads is that Facebook knows what types of people are opting in because it's tracking who hits that lead pixel, and it's a creepy place, right? It's tracking everything we do. And so as marketers, we need to take advantage of that creepy tracking.
This is a great segue for my next question. You mentioned, getting to see which type of audiences and ads work for your campaign. Mm-hmm. What are some other levers that podcasters can pull to reduce the cost per lead on their campaigns? And maybe you can go into a bit more detail when it comes to what makes a good ad.
Yeah, so the big thing is really kind of understanding the types of things you might be testing. So you can do things like test certain audiences and say, let's narrow it down to, so I keep going back to my podcast because it's an easy option there. But Late Starters Club, it's for people 40s, 50s, and beyond. So I'm targeting 40 plus, and then a lot of times I might be targeting different keywords like entrepreneur or testing some of maybe a lookalike audience. And what you want to do is systematically test different things so that you can see, hey, this audience is giving me $1 per lead while this audience is giving me $2 per lead. Now I'm going to take advantage of that and put more of my budget into the one that's giving me better results. The other thing that people don't test enough of is different images or different video options. A really popular type of ad right now is the reel ads. I'm doing a lot of reel ads for my clients where we're doing the vertical video. It looks very native in there, but we might be adding some splashy little elements. For sure, you want to add your captions, but also some fun other little elements in there, and doing an ad around that and getting people to possibly opt in or just even testing that option. I had another client that the video ad wasn't doing as well. So we've tested images versus video, several different audiences. Sometimes you might want to test Instagram placement versus Facebook placement, break those out into two different options and see which one gives you better results. So that's what it's all about, is just incrementally testing, systematically testing, and getting better and better results.
What kind of tools do you recommend to, say for scrappy podcasters out there who maybe think, I'm not a graphic designer, but I still want to create my ads myself? Like what tools?
Yeah, I mean, Canva is the best. Canva is just amazing. There's, and you can create reels in Canva as well. They've got all kinds of different templates to use. There's also, there's lots of other, real video tools out there too. I can't think of any right off the top of my head, but I really rely heavily on Canva.
Also, those kind of selfie type videos where you just record yourself are really easy to make. You can churn them out like crazy and test a lot of them.
You don't even have to be, and a lot of times the more polished video doesn't do as well as the scrappy one where you're just it looks like I said, native content. People are oh, what's what are they talking about? So.
Oh, the one wildcard that I want to throw in there that just came to mind is, using AI for this type of stuff, like Midjourney. You don't always get great results, but if you, spend some time on it, try and fine tune, and always, pay attention to number of fingers that people have on the images. But that's something that can also help with, people who like me are not very graphically talented, get more ads out there.
For sure. And, sometimes it's funny because sometimes the ugliest image, it does the best. That's the thing that's why I guess wrong all the time on I'm oh, this one is going to be great. And then it's just the weird picture that you're yeah, we'll try that. And it does well. So, even another trend I've been seeing a lot is people getting old photos of themselves and putting those in and scanning those in and just making it look like an old picture or family photo or something like that. And it doesn't always fit. It's not always. It depends on what story you're trying to tell there. But I think just try lots of different things is the big takeaway.
Okay, some of our clients include major media companies such as American Public Media, the BBC, or the Telegraph. Now let's play a game. Say they come to you tomorrow and they tell you, Andrea, we want to hire you to grow the audience of our podcast. How do you go about it?
Yeah, there's so many. That's such a challenging question, right? Because that's the $1 million question. We all want podcast growth. And, so, I think you do have to really take a very holistic approach to the whole thing, right? So, you're going to do the things that help grow podcasts, like be on other podcasts, do outreach, do, involve your audience. But again, I kind of approach this if I'm looking holistically at where it fits in the business. Most of the time, by growing your email list, you're going to help grow your podcast listeners as well, but you're also going to have that asset. So, for sure, it would be about, even those large brands, how are they getting the word out now about their content, right? So they typically have some sort of subscriber base, or, maybe they're doing some different type of advertising to just push that out in front of people. But I think it's looking at holistically, where does the podcast fit, and kind of doing all the regular podcast things that help growth, but also making sure that there's paid in there as well. Organic and paid both fit together.
So even though they have probably more constraints than, say, creators when it comes to monetization, and most of them monetize in most of their income is coming from ad revenue,
right?
Your take on this is it doesn't fundamentally change the types of funnels that they should be leveraging in capturing email addresses and try to remarket to those contacts is still the best way to go about it for them.
Yeah, because I mean, if they are like, if their main business is ad revenue, how are they doing that now, and where does that podcast fit in there? And like, so again, it's just like, okay, if we're, making sure you've got great guests, making sure that you're doing some of that organic outreach, but still like keeping in mind what grows the ad revenue, and is it traffic to your site? Then you've got to make sure how are we ensuring that we're getting constant traffic. It could be what's working now. Is it our email list? Is it, even just, it could be that maybe driving traffic just with traffic ads is a good possible option because they're getting eyeballs on there, and maybe like remarketing or retargeting, doing some of that as well. So I think it's for the larger companies. I haven't worked as much with like big companies like that, but I think it's just watching what's working now, and if we're wanting to make an intentional effort to grow the podcast, it's got to be a balance of organic and paid.
I think at times what they're trying to achieve is making a big splash when a new show launches, and so in that type of case where you want to, rapidly grow the number of downloads and the audience of your show, then what you're saying is like it might still make sense then to run traffic campaigns, your traffic as an objective in Facebook ads.
Right. So yeah, if that is helping them with their ad revenue, is just like hits to their site, then for sure, then a lot of times for the smaller podcasts, I'm saying that traffic campaign isn't going to help as much to grow listeners. But if you're making a big splash and trying to get as much traffic over there as possible, then of course the traffic objective is usually one of the cheaper ones to run rather than just like a lead campaign. But you're going to have a longer shelf life with the lead campaign that you're running because you're going to be able to market to those people over and over.
So Andrea, where can our listeners find you and follow you?
Yeah, so my all the things about Facebook ads are over on my main site at andreavahl.com, and that's a great place for the hub of all the things I've got going on. I have latestartersclub.com as well. You can get there from my main site. And then the other thing I do is stand-up comedy, and you can go watch a little stand-up comedy on my andreavahl.com site also.
You also have a freebie, right?
I do. So I think a great thing for people to start thinking about if they're running ads is the different types of ad creative, because that is going to be one of the biggest things that helps you get better results. So I put together a guide that's called 50 ads that are, I even forget what it's called. It's examples of 50 different ads. And I do have podcast ads in there as well. I think it's even more than 50. And you can get that over at andreavahl.com/50 ads. And that will just hopefully spark some creative ideas. I have resources in there as well to get you started on the pixel and things like that that you can get information about.
Thank you so much, Andrea, for coming on the show. I'm sure the listeners got a ton of value out of it.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It was super fun.